The first screenplay that I got was written by Liz Hannah, and it was really centered on Katharine Graham and the event of the publication of the Pentagon Papers, what part the Post played in that. Um, and it was unusual because it was focused on her. I was familiar with the stories about the Washington Post from Alan Pakula's All the President's Men, where she made a brief but fleeting appearance. And I really didn't know very much about her. Nora Ephron had told me that her autobiography was one of the great books of that part of the century, and that I should read it. And Liz's script sort of had a flavor of that time. I've found incredibly compelling and a story not told. Early in her life, she was not the confident Katharine Graham that people came to know as the first head of a Fortune 500 company. You know, she was someone very unsure of herself and not born to manage a major company, and also she was the product of her time, where women weren't expected to do much outside the realm of good works, good child raising, and household keeping. It's hard to really imagine how different that time was unless you lived through it, and I did. So I was on the cusp of the rising opportunities for women, and I certainly benefited from many of them. But she was in the vanguard of all of that and was not completely comfortable with taking the reins of leadership. One of the things that I think is the strongest about this film is the beauty of it, because it's a film that takes place in offices and at dinner parties. And how to make that interesting is what Janusz has brought. How to make that compelling and, in a way, propulsive, to make the story so you can't wait to see what happens next. I think that just how he's arranged where to be, I think that's Steven, obviously. But together they work seamlessly, those two. They see with the same pair of eyes. And he's quite a character, Janusz. I've never worked with him. I knew him just from having dinner, I think, a couple of times. And he was a wild man, but he's so focused and inventive. I think he's done us a great favor, all of us actors. At that moment, they could have lost everything. And the owner of the paper, the publisher of the paper, Katharine Graham, had to decide if she was willing to jeopardize her family's legacy, the paper, thousands of jobs, if they were shut down. Our movie takes place over the course of 2 or 3 weeks only, but it's enough time to get a snapshot of where this woman and all women fell in the line of decision makers, and how there just weren't very many women at all in any positions of power anywhere. And I shouldn't even use that word, power. It's a matter of moving history, changing history. There were very few women in business, very few women in law. There was no one on the Supreme Court. There was women were still a little bit invisible at that point in time. And the focus of history came to rest on this particular woman's shoulders. it's kind of subversive how multiple stories are told at the same time through the narrative of this historic moment and the march to justice, and really her taking a stance at a time when it was very difficult for her to do that, because she was not only doubted by her adversaries, but also by her friends. And it's a particularly lonely thing to do, to try to stand up under those circumstances. But everybody in this film does that. Every single person has risk attached to the decision that they make. And that, more than anything, is what I think people will feel, how just ordinary people can really move the needle in history and change the course of history. Tom is everyone knows, he's got the reputation for being the nicest guy in Hollywood. And he's very nice, but he's also really smart. He's crackerjack smart. And that's a thing that's just, I think, probably he shared with Ben Bradley. It's such an attractive quality, how just a few steps ahead of everybody he is in the room. He really drives the scenes that he's in. And he also, that sort of crackling wit and the demanding part of that personality that wants more from everybody. It's very sexy. And Tom, I think it's people will be surprised that he's that. Always admired his films, but I was never asked to dance before, and so I was just thrilled that he was gonna direct this. And I was completely unprepared for how free he is as a filmmaker. He's so in command of his art that it's just, I won't say it's effortless, because he works very hard and thinks very hard, but it's like play. It's like the absorption of a kid. He is completely free. It's improvisatory, his filmmaking, which shocked me. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I thought he would, have his sort of way that he liked to do things. But, I mean, we came in there, no rehearsal. That really shocked me. You just go in and start shooting. And then he'll just mix everything up. He says, no, this is, I'm going to do something different here. We're just going to toss this up and start in a different place. And it was just so spontaneous. Really thrilling. Part of it was our excitement, just as a gang, to be working on this material. Terrific script. Everybody has their moment. Everybody shines. Everybody was invested in making it work. And when you get great actors, and these are great actors, all sort of pulling the oars of a ship, and it just goes faster and faster. It's just very, very exciting. Very exciting to be in the room. I think that fed Steven too. And he was less tired at the end of the day than he was at the beginning. He's just boom, jazzed. It was very, very exciting.